I don't like the amount of different sources that we're getting. First, I was saying I hate that it's coming in as email confirmations as opposed to text messages from our office.
Yeah.
And that's just because of the different system that the other offices are using. But because they're all using different systems, in my phone it comes in as different sources. So when I go through to like set up my confirmations for the day, I'm scrolling through my phone and like, oh, there's an unknown number, there's one. Oh, there's an unknown number, there's one. It's like all these different sources to try and get the
So you're not
confirmation
just
together.
getting paged through the office.
No.
Everything is so scattered and gets lost in the mix of
Exactly.
Of all the emails.
Everything
Right?
Yeah, because it seems like
So-
every office that I've booked through just recently have all been on different systems, so they all confirm in different ways as opposed to, for some reason, confirming with our office directly.
Well, yeah, because if you book them online with the thing,
They're online
it
bookings
goes
as well,
through
yeah.
the system online. So there's like 2 or 3 different types.
I think there's like
And then-
7 now.
Is that-
Yeah, there's so many.
Some of the
There's so
offices
many.
Yeah.
they don't work, right? So you go
Yeah.
to do it, and it's like unknown error.
Oh,
or
I hate that the most.
and then you got to
Yeah.
call them anyway. You're just like,
Yeah.
well, if it doesn't
Yeah.
work, don't have the link. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome back to our real estate morning show. I'm Dylan. This is Jen. This is Cecilia. We're gonna jump in. We got some topics for you today. I want to start us off with checking back on the sales and where they disappeared to last month.
Yes.
We'll get into that in just a second. We are also going to be talking about a CBC News report that's talking about Canada's building code being changed because of global warming, of all things.
In Canada.
In
of all
Canada,
places.
yeah, exactly. And then the housing supply action plan that you're going to talk about. But I'm going to jump right in to talk about the sales. We cracked some jokes last episode about where did the sales go. We thought we were going to see more, and we didn't. And I was going to point some fingers to the market segment that let us down.
Yes.
And it's Toronto's condo market that let us down. They were actually down 14% compared to last year.
Substantial.
Yeah, that's a nice chunk.
It is. But you gotta like think about it and how much how strong they were when everyone else was down last year, right? So I'm not trying to defend.
No, we're just
But
having
I
joking.
mean, at the same time, it's like it makes sense that there was a shift, right? Because
Yeah.
as our market's starting to pick back up, it would make sense that those buyers are potentially coming up here and getting more for their money, and as opposed to investing in the condo market. Whereas last year, when the market hadn't kind of figured itself out yet, that wasn't really an option.
Exactly.
Right?
And I mean, that's exactly what we see here because the sales in the 905 in the detached segment was up 6.8% compared to last year.
Exactly.
So-
a little bit of a shift.
So that's
The
what
market that we were in, and we were like, man, it's so busy. Everything's like flying off the
Yeah.
shelves. We're getting everything done.
Yeah.
Why aren't we seeing that reflect? Well, Toronto had been carrying us for so long that they're like, nah, we're going to take a little break here.
It's like, we're done, guys. Figure it out for
Yeah.
yourselves. Yeah.
Down 14%. I don't know if there's anything else that I want to call out. Townhome market across the board was doing fantastic.
Yeah.
In the city, up 15.2% in sales, up 11.1% in the 905. That's up 12% overall for all of
pretty
Treb.
good.
But it's a great product, and it certainly fits in that average affordability.
Yeah.
You know, in
Yeah,
that hot
exactly.
spot.
And
It's that hot spot, those townhomes.
Yeah, and if you are shifting from buying the downtown condo, I mean, you are potentially or realistically buying a town.
Yeah,
right.
buying a
Like,
town
so
is the
that
next
makes
step.
sense that market is gonna. Because for most of us, and I know when we were buying, our options were a townhouse north or a condo
yeah.
downtown. Right, that was your price point. So it almost feels like that's where we're back to a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
not obviously not
But-
price wise yet necessarily, but in the options for
Yeah,
buyers.
it's a little bit closer than it's been.
Yeah.
Kind of like it was back in the past, which is great. So there's our sales, which is nice. The price for the condo market still did well. It was up 2.3% in the 416. So even though sales were down, they still saw a little increase in price month or year over year, which is not bad at all. But let's jump right into the new changes to Canada's building code. They're talking about taking some steps, preemptive steps for what might be coming in the future. Do you want to jump right into that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, there's been a report issued. It's not actually confirmed that this is happening yet, but they're recommending it and they're reviewing it at this
Right.
particular time. Based on the fact that our current infrastructure and the way we build and develop houses, if we don't make any changes and we continue to build and grow the way that we are, that it could potentially cost $300 billion in expenses and repairs and updates and maintenance over the next decade for Canada, which is, I mean, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And again, we're not talking specifically here just residential real estate.
No,
This would be
everything, infrastructure, roads, like
Yeah.
all of it. Because climate change is a big issue worldwide, and we know that. But in Canada, climate change is affecting us at double the rate of the rest of the world. Like Northern Canada is heating at double the
global
pace
rate
of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Right, which is something. I mean, this is
I wouldn't
honestly
have-
one of the first
I wouldn't
times
have-
I've actually heard
yeah,
that.
I wouldn't have
I knew
guessed
it was
that.
an issue. I didn't
Yeah.
know it was at that pace.
I didn't know
right?
that,
So-
especially that we were specifically double the global rate. Which is
yeah,
crazy.
so that's kind of obviously a big concern. So
Yeah.
what they're suggesting is obviously making changes to the codes and the way the products that we actually use in order to protect against flooding and excess rain and extreme weather of
Yeah.
all kinds. And
Yeah.
as we know, our weather is getting more and more sporadic. I mean, we had snow yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So that's a little bit bizarre, but they're specifically talking about roofing materials and the design of roofs, as well as concrete and what is put into the mixes when they're pouring foundations, road products, what's being used to build roads and
stormwater systems.
stormwater
Yep.
systems, so that we can manage what's going to come. Because unless everything changes with climate change, we got to protect ourselves, right?
Yeah.
The interesting thing about it, though, I was mentioning it to you earlier, was that they're talking about all this stuff and saying we need to do it, and if we don't in the next 10 years, it's going to be a $300 billion cost. Yet some of this stuff won't even come into effect until 2025, assuming it gets approved, and then they go into development. So 7 years from now, we'll be ready for the damage
start
that we're
to
going
do
to
stuff.
incur
We'll start
in
to
the
build
next 10
properly.
years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because, bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a bit disappointing, that part, that it wasn't a bit more reactive. But I think when it comes to climate change, that's the case, right? People,
Yeah.
it's not reactive until there's no proactivity there. It's all response
It's
to
all
what's already
responsive, yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so.
that's actually going to lead us right into our next topic, because I feel like there's still a lot of politicians speak. Like, there's a lot of talk of like, this is what needs to get done and blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
hey, they're coming out and saying the right thing and saying, hey, we're going to get ahead of it, but then they're not giving us necessarily the details, or they're not doing it quick enough to like make the impact that you want to see.
Yeah.
And that touches in with your housing supply action plan that's been announced. And as I read through it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, they're talking about some good stuff here. And then their final announcement was, or how they're going to go about it was, it's going to be introduced into legislation, new rules coming in spring 2019. So they've come out and said they're going to do this, but they haven't necessarily laid out all the plans on how they're going to do it.
No, they
yet.
have not been specific at all with exactly what this is going to be. And again, this is a different level of government. This is the Ontario budget, rather than
Yeah, start us back at the top.
Yeah, so Ontario just had their budget, and what they're suggesting, of course, is that now there is a new housing supply plan and a committee of folks that will say, we have to really address our affordability. We have to address the bureaucracy of the delays in builders being able to, put together our new communities.
And providing that supply.
And providing the supply that we need.
Yeah.
So again, all in time to put this in place is the delay in doing all of this
Right.
stuff. So I think that really what they want to do is they want to have a budget for it. They want to have a timeline for it. But they're not really going to give us any specific details about how they're going to help communities build these affordable housing quicker. What they're saying is that communities are going to be able to build quicker, but they're still going to have protection for their green belts, for their heritage, for these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But we don't know what they're going to do about density. We don't know what they're going to do about zoning yet.
Yeah.
So it's still going to be that if come wait, maybe let's wait and see scenario for when they tell us more about this later in the year.
Yeah, so I think my knee-jerk reaction when I first heard it was like, well, if they're still protecting all that stuff, they're not necessarily opening anything up for more space, but maybe it is just that we're going to see more zoning changes to allow for medium to high density in places where they previously hadn't allowed it,
Right,
and then
which
like
makes
cutting through the
sense.
red tape, right?
Yes, perhaps that is, and perhaps it is, cutting through red tape. I think Ontario is one of the provinces, one of the slowest provinces in working through that. They have more checkpoints than anywhere else.
And when they say affordability, are they referring to the cost to actually build the products or the cost of buying the products?
Yeah, well, I think the idea of this is the consumer affordability.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to address. And again, they
Yeah.
haven't said how they're going to do that yet, because
Right.
is it just subsidized by the government? Like, is that going to be a tax hike later on? Are they going to be looking for more ways to tax
Yeah.
people so
Or
that they can
pitching.
fund these systems?
Yes, and of course what they want to do.
Ultimately, they're going to fund it, I think. think.
Yes, and they want to create incentives for
Right.
builders to build these more affordable
Right.
housing and to build them quicker. So
Yeah,
you know,
if they pay a little less tax,
And
I'm
they
okay
have-
with it than paying more tax.
They did roll out that initiative. I think it was in the fall. We talked about it a little bit for builders if they were to build particular types of homes around transit and stuff like that. That there would be incentives for the builders. So I know that that's a program
They are
that
talking about
they've been
that.
talking about. I don't know if they've fully started running it yet.
Yeah.
So maybe it's tied into
might
that
be
or
tied
the
into that,
first time buyers
Yeah.
program that they just announced. Like, I mean, that's the thing. We don't know what it actually means. Right?
No, exactly, and that's what I get back to with both of the topics that we're discussing today. Is that with the political mindset of it all, is there's like coming out and saying the right things. Hey, we're on top of it. We're doing it, but then they're not really outlining exactly what that looks like. And sometimes it's just not just yet, right? They haven't got to it
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
They're saying we'll get to it,
Yeah.
but let you know we're thinking about it.
Yeah,
Talking
it's on
about
the
it.
show. It's like Doug Ford
Yeah.
saying about the transit lines. Like, that's
Yeah.
a big topic that they're gonna do a bigger line. They're gonna do it 2 years faster. They're gonna have better technology. They're potentially gonna have driverless cars, but there's no conversation around how
Yeah,
any
how
of that's
and
happening.
money
Right? It's just
and all of that,
announcing
right?
it. Like, this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So politics.
Politics. Yeah. Anyways, that is our show for today. We hope you enjoyed it. You can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. It's the Real Estate Morning Show. I'm Dylan. This is Jen. This is Cecilia, and we will see you next time.